Empower You podcast is devoted to bringing real-world wisdom and encouragement to our listeners. We discuss a multitude of life principles and the process from an economic, cultural, and societal perspective. We believe that through tough conversations and shared wisdom, we can pave the path and leave a ladder for the future. Subscribe to our channel and let us empower you. Welcome to Empower You podcast. How are y'all doing? So today we're doing a reflection. I hope you're all having a great start to your new year. We're very, very early in it, so do not give up. Generally what happens when you start to, start to better yourself, right? Start to implement new initiatives is all hell breaks loose. That's the first thing that happens. So expect it, anticipate it, and everything will be okay. You just got to get through that. So if all hell is breaking loose for you right now at this early part of the year and you're about ready to throw all your resolutions and your goals out of the window, just hold tight. There's a whole lot more life yet to happen. So just hold on. And which brings us to our episode for today. So for today, I'm bringing in a really, really awesome dude. Really quick story. When I first moved to Fort Wayne, Indiana, I was 18 years old and I really didn't know anybody, right? And so I listened to the radio. And so throughout the course of like learning the city of Fort Wayne and meeting new people and adjusting to classes and things like that, I would listen to the radio. I was a music major and things like that. And this was like 2009. So I wasn't as hip on streaming and things like that before. And so I used to listen to the radio. And one of the main people, the only person I used to listen to was the Big Keys, I think it was the morning show that it was at that time. And over time, I didn't know who this dude was. He just sounded familiar and he sounded like a cool person. And so that's the only thing I was listening to. That was my connector to the city because I was on campus and that was pretty much it. I was working, I was going to school, and so I would just listen to the radio, when I wanted to kind of diversify what I was taking in, taking breaks, maybe if I was chilling or something like that. And, fast forward 10 years later, I end up meeting this gentleman, and he's just a fantastic person through and through. And I'm so glad that he took some time to give us a guest reflection today. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about him and then we'll bring him on. Okay. So our guest for today is a 15-year radio veteran. I'm talking about an OG. He has worked every single position in the radio up to being the program director, host, all of that stuff, right? He's also a podcast host and he has several different podcast projects that he works on with other comedians and things like that. He does stand-up comedy. He's also an actor, a singer, the founder of BK1 Entertainment Group, a DJ. This man is always working on new material, always innovating his approach to his career and the way that he interfaces with other people's lives. And I'm so thankful that I was able to not only meet this gentleman, but actually be a part of several productions that we both got to act in and sing in, and it was just an incredibly awesome experience. And he is like my big bro, so I truly appreciate him coming on, and I can't wait for you guys to meet him. So I'm gonna bring him on up here. Keys, what's up, man? How are you?
What up? What up? How you doing, kid?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Thank you
How you doing? Can you hear
so
me?
much. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
okay, my bad.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear
Okay,
you.
cool. Thank you for
Yeah,
being
I
here,
can.
man.
Yeah.
That's it's awesome that you're able to take a second. And I know you got a lot of stuff going on with your life. You are always super, super busy. So I truly appreciate this hour of your time that I can steal and record some of your great insights, man. Appreciate it.
No doubt. Hey, I appreciate you having me. And that intro, man. What's your Cash App again, man? Let me go in here and send you something. I don't know what I did to deserve that.
Bro, I
but yeah,
appreciate
man.
it.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's also an honor on my end as well.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your career, and then about the episode that you're gonna be reflecting on today.
A little bit about myself. I grew up. I was actually born in Wisconsin. moved here to Fort Wayne when General Motors came to Fort Wayne. My family migrated from Wisconsin to here. So even though I went to like first grade in Wisconsin, but technically all my life I've been here in Fort Wayne. So depending on the situation, I claim Wisconsin when I need to, and I claim Indiana. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of it depends. Yeah, man, I was always just a class clown. It was me, my mom, my sister. She was about 8 years older than me, so I had a lot of time to play by myself.
Mm,
So I was always trying to develop characters, just trying to be funny. I always enjoyed meeting new people and new friends. So I've always was always a class clown, and I was realizing throughout school because sometimes you kind of know when you're an underachiever. Sometimes I always knew that I
mm-hmm.
was smarter than I was always putting out, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
man, I have to find a way though to still what I'm saying,
Yeah.
become successful. Ended up going to college, and I remember in college I was still wanting to be a class clown. I remember one of my teachers pulled me to the side. I was like, "Why don't you just pack everything up and just go to Los Angeles and try to be an actor?" You know what I'm saying? I know, even though that's something I wanted to do, I ended up having my son. You know what I'm saying? And not having a father in my life, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make sure that I'm gonna be the best father ever. So I decided to stick around. Well, in the midst of sticking around is when I, started hosting shows. I was actually started hosting shows when I was like 17 years old when I first actually hosted a show. I used to be in a singing group in high school,
Oh my
and
gosh.
and our and our manager, he was also did a lot of shows. Who was also a very talented artist. His name is Michael Johnson. And he started putting together these shows and had me host the shows when I was like 17. Because, like I said, I've always just been I don't want to say I'm not tooting my horn and say the life of the party, but I don't like dull moments. So if a
Yeah.
party is not going well, I will literally go outside and jump into a snowy bush just to get the party going. Like anything to make people laugh, even if it came with a little injury, I was always down with. So for me, I felt like I was destined to use my gift of gab, and after college, I started, like I said, was continuing to host shows and stuff. End up working at a club where the radio station Hot 107.9 used to come on Thursdays. As I was hosting the event, you know what I'm saying, I started thinking like, man, radio, they're literally doing the same thing that I'm doing here at the club. Only thing they say is just whatever the next song is coming up. So I ended up putting a application in at the radio station. My first one didn't go through. They didn't hire me my first one, but I kept making noise at the club, a very popular club here in Fort Wayne, Pierre's, and I was hosting all of their concerts and stuff. So there was another rival radio station that started coming abroad, and so I was at Hot 1079. I was a van driver. I was like a van driver slash stunt guy, which means on the morning show they would do all kind of jokes and pranks with me or throw eggs at me. Guess how many eggs I can hit Keith with in the head type, and people win prizes. And then I would drive around town as well, handing out bumper stickers. Well, the craziest part about that, and I hate that I be everywhere sometimes when I tell this story about paying your dues, is that I was already Big Keith, somewhat Big Keith before I got into radio as far as for the club.
Yeah.
So, but in the radio, I already knew that I had to kind of pay my dues. So I had to start from the beginning, and that resulted in me to where some people were looking at some of the stunts I was doing, like almost like I was being ridiculed, or they kind of felt like, man, Keith, why are you doing that? Because one stunt was I hid in the trash can at like McDonald's, and if you could find the trash dumpster that I was in, I would jump out and hand you tickets, like there was free that we had a concert and there were free shows. And I remember people be like, man, why are you doing that, Keith? But I knew that in rate I had to pay my dues. So that was me,
Yeah.
van driver, making $5 an hour, stunt guy, not making anything for being a stunt guy, to where one day 96.3 at the time called me and was like, hey man, because I started doing parody songs on the morning show and the music show. And a lot of people, that was all catching fire. And then the other rival radio station said, hey man, you want your own show? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, but then at that time, I thought I had a non-compete. In radio, they make you sign a non-compete, which means you
Ah.
can't work for another radio station within a certain mile radius. Well, because I was a van driver and a stunt guy, they didn't have me sign a non-compete because they didn't. Normally, those guys aren't guys that turn into radio
Yeah.
hosts or something. Those are guys that just probably work for a little bit and kind of move on. So they didn't expect me to do that. Once I realized I didn't have that, I was like, oh snap, I can leave. Then I left, went to 96.3. They was like, hey, we're going to give you well, I started off once again paying my dues. I started off interning for the morning guy, which I
Okay.
wasn't getting paid. Then as I was doing that, the night guy went on vacation and they wanted me to fill in for him. So I filled in for him. And at that point, I was like, all right, let's get Keith in here. And then the night guy went to mornings. And then that's where I started. I started off at night, then moved to afternoons. Then my biggest accomplishment was getting my own morning show. I had my own morning show. They had to wrap the vehicles with my name on it, running commercials on TV, billboards. I mean, I felt like I had made it as far as for me, Fort Wayne radio. I was like, yes, I made it. And then boom, they sold the station.
Bro.
So at
Listen.
that point, I was like, you know what? I'm out of here. I had a few radio offers from other places. I was like, I'm out, finally my chance to get out. Because that's another thing I want to talk about is being too comfortable. You know what I'm saying? That was one of my
Yeah.
curses. And so then right when I was getting ready to get up out of there, like I'm out of here, the new people that bought the radio station offered me another opportunity that I couldn't refuse. They were like, "Hey, do you want to be the boss of the new station? Be the boss and the face of the new station?" I'm like, I'm not a bossy type person, but also knew that I had done every other position in radio. I'm like program director and it was PD and MD, music director, program director. Because if you're the program director, you control the music of the station, so that makes you a musical director as well. So when that opportunity I couldn't pass up because I wanted to fill out my resume,
Yeah.
and then that's when I started being the boss of the station, and things were going pretty awesome. But and we could talk more about it because I know you wanted me to kind
Oh
of
no,
reflect.
you
I felt like
good.
I was going on for a little long, but yeah, and it led to an illustrious 15, 16 year career. I was able to just meet so many people. The cool thing about when I
Wow.
became the boss of the station, the one cool thing is that I was able to reach out to the community, and I would have people come on my show, talk about their events. The boss used to get mad and be like, "Man, those interviews are too long," but to me, it was the community. Like everybody couldn't afford to get radio ads, so I was gonna make sure that you got your message out on my show,
Yep.
and I know that the city definitely appreciated. The radio
Yep.
station probably didn't care too much for it, but the city definitely appreciated. And yeah, man, having that career, and I got a little too comfortable. I will say that. I
Well,
think you should know. I think you should know when it's time to bust a move. Like if you
uh,
stay somewhere where you're not pushed or you're not sharpened or there's no peer, there's no one else to look at to say, oh, he on his stuff today, let me get on mine. Like I was literally like the one radio guy pretty much around town at that time,
the radio guy around town. The
and it
radio guy, bro.
and it wasn't much uh motivate once I like I said, once I went from the morning show to where you're all when you're doing a morning show, you prepping your show every day. It's your show, it's your morning
Yeah.
show. It's like you're the talent. When I
Yeah.
became the boss, it drained me because I don't like telling people what to do. And I'm the king of excuses, kid. So if you're giving me excuses that I already know that you're lying on, it's
Oh
like I
no.
know that but I can't say that you're lying because I have to accept your excuse. And that was just weird for me, man. I'd rather just be the talent, man. I'm a more of a talent guy than
Yeah.
a boss, but you got to be ready to step into whatever role is presented to you.
Yeah, man.
And that's kind of how my life has been. Like I prepared myself to no matter if ever a bridge falls, I've always had something else to step on to make
Right.
sure I'm able to still make a living.
Well, I know, when I was first in the city, I didn't know as far as like celebrities go. Now mind you, I'm coming from Gary, Indiana, and
Hmm.
so this was all new to me. You were like the only like celebrity type person that I thought about. Cause I remember the first time I saw you at an event, I was like, "That's Big
Shut
Keys."
shut
Like,
up,
no, I'm
man.
serious. And I'm not even gassing you because I had never seen you before, and so I'd
Hmm.
always just heard you and seen you on TV and all this other kind of stuff. I was like, "Bruh, this guy has the city wrapped at this point." You know what I'm saying? And so when I would see you at events, because I started to do more production and stuff like that, and 107.9 would be involved in different things, so I'd be like,
Hmm.
"That's Keys," and he's for real funny, like not like just on air funny. You know what I'm saying? And so then fast forward us getting to work together and things like that. Like I just couldn't have imagined at 18 years old that, we would be doing shows together and be bros. And so like that was never like I didn't even think about that kind of stuff. And so to see how your career has developed and the moves that you've made, because you talk about like there's so many transitions that happen in
Hmm.
radio and in media in general, and to see you pivoting through those different transitions, you know, I don't know what it was like for you, but on for me, I was just like, I mean, he clearly got this thing figured out. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's one of the things that you were mentioning as far as being comfortable with that. Nobody was competing with you, bro. Like, nobody. And nobody is competing with you as far as when it comes to your level of talent and the way that you present yourself, your ability to pull things together and make events actually lit. Like, nobody's. I listen. I kind of stepped back from the nightlife a little bit. I got a little bit too comfortable in that scene, but even from the outside looking in, it don't look like anybody's competing with you in the events that you do and stuff like that. And so I think that's a real talent. It takes a lot of pressure to make events happen the way that they happen. It takes a lot of focus to be able to read a room and know exactly how to keep everybody in a good spot, especially because, that's not easy. It's not
Hmm.
easy putting things together the way that you have. And so it's been a joy watching you over the years, continuing to develop and reinvent yourself. Like, I don't feel like you done gone viral, what, a handful of times already now
A
on
couple times.
online?
It's only been a couple times, but that is another thing about being an underachiever or not giving your full 100% to something. I don't. I've told this to my close friends, but I don't say this to many people because I don't want to shit on any of my accomplishments. But oh, my bad. I've been probably running off about 45% to 55, maybe at my highest
Really?
of my actual motivation and capabilities and things that I'm able to do and
Really?
push forward. Like so, I've made it, and I'm not. This is not. I'm not capping or trying to make it sound like no. I've been going at about 45. When I got my radio show, my morning show, that was like one of my heights. I was probably going about 55% at that point. I was still in a good space, and I probably would. The radio that morning show may have led me to 100, but I've never given my all in life.
Oh,
And it sounds crazy because I have accomplished a lot of things at
yeah,
45 and 55%. But if I was to be pushing myself to 100%,
yeah,
you might have had to call a real agent to speak to me. I might be somewhere further
yeah,
along than I am right now. But I say that to say this: I'm still very blessed. I made a decision to not go pursue my career somewhere else because I'm a full-time father. What I'm saying? Raised my son. He's 19 now from the jump. So there was a decision I had to make. Do I go do that part? Yes, I probably would have been famous, but that relationship that I have with my son would not be the same.
right,
However, as talking to him now, he would have understood. But at
yeah,
that point, I didn't have a dad in my
yeah,
life,
yeah.
so I wasn't going to take any chances of my son ever looking at me like I looked at my dad.
Mm,
And that became more of my focus was to just make sure that I'm there for him and then
yeah,
make the best out of the situation that I'm in.
yeah, yeah. Which you definitely did, bro. I mean,
Thank you, man.
you definitely did. I don't know anybody in the city with more clout from
Yeah. I
that.
mean,
I'm telling
I,
you, bro. I'm telling you, man. I mean, I know you being shy and all that, but I'm just saying, bro. You had the city on lock.
but
Like,
it comes from a kid. It comes from being humble, not
yeah,
burning bridges.
yeah,
I'm always willing to help anyone, and I don't look at anyone. I never looked at anyone less than me. There was times. Don't forget, I used to pretty much run Cyber Club and Club V and
yeah,
Pierre's. There
yeah.
was times I would come. I'm the host of the night. If I come and it's a long line, sometimes my humbleness wouldn't even let me cut the line, and I got to be in at work. I would stand in line sometimes, and people are like, "Keith, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Bro, it's just so weird to me because I've never tried to make myself feel like I'm better than somebody else. I've always tried to
Yeah,
just kind of
yeah,
downplay, what I'm saying, everything. 'Cause I just don't want nobody to think that I think that I'm all that because I'm just me. And I just like having fun and making people laugh. That's always been my thing, no matter what my position is in life.
bro. You are an inspiration, my guy, for
I
sure, for
appreciate it,
sure.
man.
So
I
what
appreciate
are
it.
we're gonna reflect on this interview, and I wanted you to tell us a little bit about the interview that you want to reflect on and kind of some of the points that stood out to you, and then we'll just continue to dive in.
Is his name Steve Sims?
Yes, sir.
I kept saying Simon Cowell because it had that same voice. And then he was talking about how he looked. I was like, I started imagining what he looked like, and I was like, oh man. But the stuff he was saying, bro, this is crazy. So I'm bad at homework, so I probably was listening to that at 11:10. No, I'm sorry, about 10:15. I started listening. I was like, dang, the interview's at 11. It's 53 minutes long or an hour or something. I'm not gonna make it through. But I at least want to get a piece of something,
Yeah.
and so I can talk to you about it. So really, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was just trying to find one at first. Let me just find one real quick.
Yeah.
And so then, as I'm listening to it, I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Bro, he's intense,
I
bro.
Well, no, this is what I got out of it. I'm like, holy smokes, this is what Kid Boy's vision is. This is what the Empower You podcast is all about. It's about someone stumbling across one of your interviews and you're talking to someone who instantly, in probably the first 30 minutes of that interview, had already was changing my mindset about certain things. The stuff he was saying, like one thing that stuck with me, and I hate saying that something stuck with me and my memory's bad and I can't remember the exact quote. Like, man, you changed my life. What did he say? I can't remember what he said, but it changed me. But when he was talking about podcasts and just more or less about today's time, like he was pretty much like if he had kind of grew up in today's time, or it seemed like how different he would be because you're able to, how did he say it, look in
Change
or
people's mindset.
bruh. I've been all about reading people. My job, I wouldn't be here, like I said today, if it wasn't for me reading people. That's how I'm able to DJ. People like, you weren't DJing all this. I haven't been DJing a long time, but I've been DJing and around DJing enough to where I can look out in the crowd and tell what song I need to be playing.
Oh wow.
And that's just from people and paying. I'm like that when I meet people too. I'm able to kind of see, this somebody I can deal with outside of work or outside of this particular situation, or is this someone that I deal with in the confines of this box and then I'll probably never speak with them again. So with him talking about that, it is true, man. If you don't take time to take pieces from other people's experience, you're going to run into a lot of roadblocks that you didn't have to because you weren't paying attention. A lot of times people are giving you their advice on things that they're giving you advice on things that have either happened to them or had like they learning from your mistakes type situation. You know what I'm saying? Like and that's what I've my bad, my son came down. I didn't know if he needed something or not. And that message, just hearing him talk about what'd he say? I had to change the questions that I was asking.
Yes.
It wasn't, just so you know that I was paying attention. My memory just sucks. That's just so you know that I read it. But hearing his whole process, it just reminded me to tighten up, sharpen up, and know your focus, know what you're going in. Because sometimes those are questions you have to ask yourself. Make sure you're asking yourself the right questions. Because if you're not, then you might, you know what I'm saying, veer down a path that you either didn't have to, could be the demise of your career. You know, you gotta be careful with the things that you say to yourself and who you surround yourself with. That was another thing too. I realized that too. When I got into radio, man, I remember, and it's crazy because all the people that probably said that to me are people that I don't deal with now and didn't deal with then. Like, man, he's Hollywood now. He Hollywood now. Bro, what would make you say that I'm Hollywood? Because I'm actually overly humble. I'm overly humble, and I know that for a fact.
Too humble.
Yeah, so for you to say that, that means that you either a little maybe jealous of where I am, or maybe, you know how people kind of get. Everybody don't want to hear good news. Some people want to hear, did you hear what happened to someone? And some people more like that.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I was pulling from that interview, to where I'm literally going to go back and finish listening to it, because I just like where he was going. Like I said, I made it to about 30-35 minutes of it. I love the questions that you was asking, and that's why podcasts and things like this are important, because there's somebody that can learn from something that you went through.
Absolutely.
And you can probably help them out.
Absolutely. I want to go back to something you said really quick, because it really hit me. Real quick, can you pull your laptop screen down a little bit? Because we're at like totally different heights. There it is. Perfect. Okay. So one of the things that you said that I thought was really interesting, you said you have to learn to ask yourself the right questions.
Hmm.
That's huge. I don't think sometimes we ask ourselves what our real motives are. We ask ourselves what our real goals are. We ask ourselves what is important to us. And when you said that, it just kind of gave me a flash, because that's the first person you have to get to know. That's
Hmm.
the first person, because everything else builds off of that. And I hear you saying, that you're very humble, and that, you don't take the success that you have been able to achieve lightly. You believe where you are as a result of your good nature and the way that you take care of the people, or honestly, the people that you are around, and therefore it opens more and more doors for you. So what are some of the conversations, some of the questions that you ask yourself on a regular basis?
Um, why? Why haven't you got this done? Why are you still procrastinating? Do you think that everything's just gonna wait on you? Um, these like, and I constantly say these things like, why not do more? You're not going as hard as you can. You're right now. You could be working on something, and you're sitting here doing this. You playing the game, or you're doing something that you could be. You know what I'm saying? You could be using this time to wisely. Then I see someone else do something, and I'm like, I thought of that, or I should have did that, or man, like you start. I'm like, see, that's what you get. You should have did that. All right, then I come up with 10 game breaking Elon Musk ideas. And they're like, yeah. It's like I said in my head, like, yeah, and then boom, it's gone. Sometimes we have built the dream so much up in our head that we feel like we've already accomplished it. You can see it so vividly, you can feel it, you feel like that's you feel like, yeah, I just left the Grammys. No, you didn't. You just left your mammies. You know what I'm saying? You didn't leave it. But you can psych your mind. And I think he was talking about something about that too. About if you keep I forget the analogy he's talking about
If
when
you
you're
keep
seeing
putting
different stuff.
Yeah, you keep putting positive things into your head, you could start to live those things out.
Yeah, and that's what I because I think the biggest hater and the biggest person and the most person that gets into everybody's way the most is yourself. You are your own worst enemy. People have heard that because there's sometimes you tell your stuff self what you need to do and you totally ignore what it is that you need to do. No different than if you're unhealthy and you're eating bad and you know that eventually that's a result in you probably leading to your death. What's the difference in eating poison? You might just go eat some poison. It's still going to kill you, just a little faster, but you know that's poisonous. Why would I eat that instead of oh man, I'm gonna die anyway? You see, I don't know, like your mind, your mind can trick you in so many ways, even with addictions and everything. It's all mental. Don't get it
Yeah.
twisted. Some addictions do affect you physically, but your mental has to come into your mind first and say, "Hey, I'm going to stop doing this,"
Yeah.
and then your body will comply. It may
Yeah.
be kicking and screaming, but
Yeah.
it will comply. So yeah, I just ask myself. I'm always asking myself, why? Why didn't you do this? Why aren't you working hard? Why? You gonna mess around and be 40 years old and not have this? I don't know. I've
Mm.
always kind of just ask myself questions of why am I not where I need to be? And usually that answer is pretty evident. It's because you're not trying. Because that same person in your head, he'll come back with you and tell you everything that you need to do too. So it's like, ah.
And so here's the other thing that I think is interesting. You've accomplished more than, I'll say 95. I could probably go higher, but you've accomplished more than 95% of your peers. All right, let's just be blatantly honest. You reached a feat of success, of notoriety, of impact, just community impact that is second to nobody that I know. Maybe Tara Brantley, but
Good friend of mine.
you know what I mean? Like, you all are icons, and you still feel like you're not doing enough. And I think that's very interesting, because you're already operating on a level that a lot of folks can't hang with.
But
But
in
you
my
have this
mind,
internal standard for yourself that you're constantly trying to reach, which I think is healthy, because it does keep you grounded and it does keep you humble and focused on what you need to be doing. But I also think, you know, you got to give yourself grace too. You got to celebrate your wins too. Like, you have a great life, you have a great family, you've reached thousands and thousands of people, man. Like, you can't go nowhere without people knowing you. I'm sure of it.
It's different, you know what I'm saying?
That's your way of saying absolutely not. Absolutely everywhere they know me.
I mean, around town. I mean, if you don't know me, you may have heard of me, but that's just because everybody that kind of grew up with me is a little older now too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you also realize that, there's another half a generation that don't know you as much. You know what I'm saying? And here's my thing, and I've said this before, because what you just said was kind of ironic that you said that. I'll give you a couple examples. One guy told a guy that I'm helping, don't. And it's crazy. This is the only time that I ever flex my whatever. He told this guy, who's a comedian that I work with. He told him, don't end up like the 40-year-old Kess.
Ooh.
So when he said, his motivation to him was saying that maybe the 40-year-old Kess of where he feels like I am right now. But when I thought about that, so okay, the 40-year-old Kess, illustrious radio career, a beautiful wife, a father who has been there for his son. I have a very nice hot crib, you know what I'm saying? That's what Theo did a nice mural on the back. I have a very nice crib, and I make literally twice as much money as I was making when I was on the radio. Like, I started thinking, like, damn, the 40-year-old Kess ain't that bad. But
you better tell him, Kess. He said, you wish you be a 40-year-old Kess.
But this is the thing, and I have to accept this. For people that have known me all my life, and even for myself, my dream is to be on the big screen. My dream is to be, rich and famous and on TV and have my own shows like worldwide. So people that have known me from my past could sometimes look at me as I haven't achieved much because their expectations of me were so much higher. And that's how I am for myself. Yeah, I had a good radio, but radio wasn't my passion. That's something I just fell into. Theater, acting, comedy, like those are my passions. You know what I'm saying? TV, cartoons. I would love to be doing cartoon voiceovers. That's why I'm working at 45 to 50% because I can do all of those things. I'm just not doing them. I could have taken myself to the next level, but if you don't apply yourself, I don't care how much talent you have. I don't care how big your platform is. You're only gonna be able to go so far.
Yeah.
And I had opportunities, I met Kid, where I ain't even gonna go say the name, but there's a guy right now who is majorly successful with people, with YouTubers, and he is madly successful. He was literally saying, Kess. This is before it all it was still on his way of blowing up, like, Kess, I know you like the radio station, and there's nothing wrong with it, but bro, I can assure you that if you ride with me, you will look at that radio, and it will be a past memory. And me being too comfortable, Kib, I didn't take heed, and right now he is probably in control of some of the biggest YouTube channels out there right now. And I sit back and watch it every day, and I kick myself in the ASS because I'm like, that's who I should have rode with. And even right now, I'm sure if I put something together and sent it to him, he would definitely look at it. But now I have to make sure that I'm not going to send him no BS. I'm going to put together, I'm going to put like this. I'm going to put myself back in the position that he's going to reach back out and be like, hey, bro.
Remember that one time I told you need to ride with me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So here's my question to you, bro. And this is something I've noticed, and this is something that I feel can trip us all up, We are all multi-talented, right? Multifaceted, multi-genius even, right? 45%, 50% for us, okay? And for some of you all who are listening to this podcast, I need you to take a second and allow yourself to look at yourself objectively. Some of you, just like me and Kess, are very good at a lot of things. And so you never feel like you're fully occupying your gift. And it's not necessarily because you're not outputting tremendous work. Like Keys, done everything you could think of and still feels like, yeah, I'm only at like 50%. But that's because we're looking at every skill we have as its individual course of action. And what I'm learning, and this is something that I think is really important. So I want you to understand, like, in order to build something amazing, you have to focus on one lane. The more you secure that one lane, there are more lanes that will open up for you. Not because you're doing 8 things at once, but because you do one thing so well, it buys you so much more time. And time is ultimately what we're always working with, the same 24 hours. I can't be a genius at podcasting, at writing songs, at acting or learning to dance or learning new music, or don't get me wrong, I could do all those different things, or I could solidify this podcast lane so much so that everything else I drop has an audience. Everything else I do has an audience, because they know because you and everybody else know that who I am as a person, they want to participate with, whether it's music, whether it's podcasting, whether it's films, and I want you to think about that in terms of your life. There's probably a lot of aspects of your life that you're really, really good at. And so don't feel pressure to be moving at the same pace with all these different gifts at the same time. There are seasons for different things in your life. And I'll give you a for instance, Keys. Would you rather be, and this is unfair, all right? I'm just going to say this up front. Would you rather be wherever the guy who's doing super well, would you rather be where he is, or with your wife who you love in a dope crib, surrounded by your family who loves you and supports your next season?
I wish that, okay, I'll say this. If the first one was true, then the second one would have been automatic.
You think you would have met your wife and everything else like that if you were gone doing all that other stuff?
No, hell no. But I would have met my wife that I was destined to be with that path that I took, and my son would have still been my son, per how that kind of happened. But it's a weird question. Yes, that's kind of loaded, you know what I'm saying? But I just said, for me though, me being here is still the underachiever me on the inside of me. So I'm like, that would have been more satisfying. I'm going for my full potential, using my full potential.
Here's what I'm saying. I think there's seasons. I think you're walking into a whole different season of your life. One in which you have new tools that you never would have had before. And you have new personnel that you never would have had back then. And I think that sometimes can maximize an opportunity way more than just being out there. Because if you're not linked up with the right people, like, I go to this business group. I'm part of this business group called Client Attraction University, and incredible people. And they inspire me in a way that I just never have been inspired before. And the business is out of Atlanta. So I could move to Atlanta, right? And just do the Atlanta thing. Or I could move there with the right set of people, in the right environment, with the right relationships that actually allow me to attain what I'm trying to attain. And so when I say we don't always have to be moving with all of our talents at the same pace in all seasons, because I just don't think in certain seasons you have the relationships, you have the knowledge, you have the wisdom, because right now can't nobody run circles around you on radio. You already know the game. Can't nobody run circles around you on other contracts and stuff. You already know the game. 20-year-old you, 22-year-old you, could have lost millions and millions of dollars. And I'm not saying that to to pacify anybody, But what I'm saying is we have to free ourselves from the guilt of decisions we didn't make, because our life right now still has just as much potential if we dedicate ourselves to it. Does that make sense?
Hmm. And that's where I am, Kip. That's exactly where I am right now. I'm at the point where I am firing on all cylinders. I have everything in place for me to become the dream me that I want. I'm still at the perfect age to get things moving.
Yes,
And now I am in control of all of my moves. I
that's
am in
right.
control of all of the money that comes in. There's no, I'm the ship that's I'm driving the boat,
Yeah.
and that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world. Radio was a time for me. It came, it left. It left in a way that could be a whole nother story. But I look at it like this. I look at it that God doesn't make mistakes. He knew that it was time for me to be pushed off that ledge. It was me that didn't realize that, oh, I can, if I flap these wings, they actually fly.
Yeah.
And I really didn't know that. I got so comfortable in the nest, I didn't realize, like, wait a minute, I'm a eagle.
Yeah,
Ah,
bro. Yeah,
you
bro.
know.
So for you personally, as we wrap up, what is something that you have been able to do that has really centered you? That's been able to help you move forward past difficult times, like uncertainty with the radio station, or reinventing yourself again and again, or like what keeps you from just kind of getting stuck? Because it seems like you're never out of moves.
Mhm.
Like some people just like, oh, that's probably it. Not Keys. Keys got a whole nother trick up his sleeve, I am sure. And so how do
I-
you keep so many how are you able to reinvent yourself so easily and so well, even when it looks like things are not going the way maybe somebody else would view as ideal?
I would credit it all to just how I move. I've always just moved in such a way that, not like I said, I'm not burning bridges, but also not just jumping in and doing business with people when it's not ready.
Mm.
I'm a part of a company called Illa Media. Illa Media was founded by a guy named Morgan Williams. Well, me and Morg had met probably about probably a year prior. Uh, he had known me from the radio. He doesn't deal with many people, but he had kind of known me from the radio. So we had chopped it up. We had this vision, like, ah, man, yeah, he had already had the office. Everything was already in place somewhat, right? Even at that moment, but our time wasn't ready then. So about a year later, I end up seeing, I don't know if you've heard of Cam Coleman or
Yeah.
Snacks Cam Coleman. Start seeing him doing his thing on Facebook, and at that time, pandemic had kind of happened. I had did a video about called with Little QK, and that was this little filter that they had on Snapchat. Long story short, it did like 1 million views. You know what I'm saying, on Facebook. And people know Facebook a little different when it comes to views. Like, people have to actually physically really share it, and people have to really watch it to get those views. So those views are looked at a little different than, like maybe some other social media things. So it was a big deal, but at that time, once again, I'm just kind of just throwing it out there. But long story short, seeing Cam, and I just saw so much of how I used to be in Cam, and I was like, man, I have to find a way to just help. If I can help mentor, maybe help him not go down some of the roads that I went down. And long story short, we linked up, me and him. We end up, I called Morgan. Hey, Morgan, meet me at the office. Going up there to Morgan. I hadn't talked to him the day before, but once all three of us got together that day, we knew right there, a year later, after me and Morgan met, that was the birth of Illa Media. That was the birth of this relationship, and meeting those two guys, because we all have three totally different aspects on life. We all have different ways of going about things, but we've all kind of came together with those differences and made a brotherhood out of it, and it has ignited me in a way that, because if you're not surrounding yourself around motivated people, you will fall into that, whatever the mood is that's going on with the people that you surround yourself with.
Yep.
Morgan, a business owner. Cam, a up and coming comedian, and all the dreams and aspirations that I have, he has those same dreams and aspirations. It was like a match made in heaven for me to be able to pour out everything that I've learned into those two guys and whatever I can help with, and then we just form this team, and we always motivate each other. Every time I see Cam drop a video, it's like, okay, it reminds me that I'm not on my shit. Like, okay, I gotta get on. Oh, okay, I gotta get on mine. Okay, I gotta get on mine. And that's kind of what it was for me, man. Finding that right nucleus of people, small
Yeah.
circle,
Yeah.
that gives me all of the motivation, and they big me up so much as far as motivating me, like making me not not give up what I got going on. Like, hey, bro, like we kind of in this together, and it's surrounding yourself with the right team, and
Yeah.
that is what has ignited me and kept me going. They definitely keep me sharp, and I wouldn't trade my squad. And we only been, like I said, really rocking off about a year and a half, but it doesn't take much when you linking up with people that make
Mm-hmm.
sense. You know what I'm saying? When it all comes together and you assemble Voltron, like, oh snap, we're Voltron. You know what I'm saying? Individually with this, but all three of us together, it makes sense. And then it's also giving us the opportunity to try and reach out and help more people throughout the city,
Yeah.
with whatever particular dream they may have.
That's
Um,
amazing, bro. That's amazing, man. And I've seen the events that you guys do, and they look dope, bro. They
and
look
those
dope.
are without trying. Those are not. We're just throwing those out there. Those aren't. That's once again when you're moving at 45 and 50. Even I feel like that squad is probably firing a little bit more than what I be saying I'm firing out. But we still could do better. We still could do more, and there's
Yeah.
so much more to come.
That's amazing, bro. I definitely want you to let me know about any new things that you guys are doing. Feel free to send it to me. I'm happy to promote it and let you guys know, let you all know on the podcast. If you're in Indiana, in Fort Wayne, you can pull up. And if not, you feel free to like watch it online or any streams and stuff like that are available. Before we go, we gotta get a thought exercise, man. We have to
Okay.
get a thought exercise. So a thought exercise is something that you personally practice, and then something that our listeners, all the viewers, that we can do right away. That we can start to implement. Maybe it's a tool, a prayer, a routine, a poem you like. Whatever it is, that just helps you get from point A to point B. It helps you remember who you are, and helps you get through difficult moments. So, if you have a thought exercise for us, brother, the floor is yours.
So when you say thought exercise, meaning like, give me an example.
So, one of the thought exercises that one of the guests gave us was that he writes himself notes the night before, and he sticks them on his bed, or he sticks them on
Mm.
his mirror, so that in the morning when he wakes up and he's going through his routine, he has these notes all along his mirror to remind him and help him affirm himself while he's moving through his day. And it gives him a level of confidence and a reassurance that he's in the right place doing the right things at the right time. And so that's just an example of a thought exercise. So for you, what would a thought exercise be that you practice and that helps you get up and keep going?
Um, I guess a I guess a thought exercise is it's, when you say thought exercise, I guess I'm thinking of a different way, but something that I have to continuously do every day is remind myself that some of these are just thoughts. Some of these are things that you are thinking. Some of these are ideas. Some of these are great ideas. Some of these are you wish that this could happen. Some of these are 5 years away from even being able to become possible. You might think about flying cars, and that might not be here yet. But
Yeah.
you always have to remind yourself that those are thoughts. These are things that are in my head. Until it's down on paper and until it's in action, they're thoughts. Don't feel like you've
Mm.
accomplished something that you've only thought about. Don't feel like you've accomplished something that you don't even have. You have this grand idea. I want to do this. I want to make this. So how you gonna get to it? mm Those are
Mm.
wasted thoughts.
Mm.
If you're not going to develop those thoughts, then you're just wasting your time thinking. You have to be more, I don't know how to say it, more when I say pure thoughts, not pure thoughts, but think of things that can actually happen or that you can actually do or get done. Daydreaming can be your downfall. If you're daydreaming too much, like I said earlier, you can feel like you've done something that you haven't
Uh-huh.
done.
Yeah. Daydreaming
And
without implementation.
it means nothing, and it could be your downfall, and you could turn around and be the 40-year-old Keys, or you could turn around and be you could be an old guy. But that was trying to be funny, but you could turn around and be an old guy, and that window has passed. That
Yeah.
that 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 time has passed, and it was all just a thought. And you know what you'll do? You'll go back to thinking like, man, I would go. Somehow it's almost like you ever watched the movie Life and how they were sitting there and how they were telling the story and everybody could
Uh-huh.
picture themselves in the boom boom room. And to reality hit like, no, you're in jail for life. You know what I'm saying? Don't picture the
Mm-hmm.
boom boom room. And it's don't take this the wrong way, but figure your plan out. How Claude and them never stop figuring out how to get up out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Keep thinking of how your way to get out. And guess what? When that plane crash and you got to come back to the plantation or the jail, think about how you can get back out again.
Yep.
And that is uh, the best thought exercise I can do. Stop hyping yourself up or stop
Mm.
believing in that daydream. Stop telling yourself that you're doing something that you're not. You're just telling yourself that you're not doing it.
Yeah. So what is your
Um,
process? Like, you have a great idea. What do you do after that?
oh, and that's another thing about me, and I think a lot of people are the same way. We need to start taking our own advice. I have the best advice for myself, and I totally ignore it. Like, oh, nope, not listening to you. Like it's somebody else telling me. Um, so that's another piece of advice. Don't uh, uh,
Take your
take
own
your own
advice.
advice. Take your own advice. You know what you're doing and not doing. Like you can sit there and BS somebody about what you're doing. You know what you're doing when the camera goes off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what was your question though again, real fast?
So what's
The
your
last one?
process? You have a really great idea.
Yeah.
Then what? For the
So
for
right
those who are
now,
listening and they're like, okay, so how do I get out of this cycle of just thinking I'm doing something and then I let moments pass me by? Like, what would you suggest they do with their ideas?
when you get those ideas, you have to realistically look at how possible they are for you. You can have an idea, it just may not be that possible for you at the moment. So what do I have to do? Say it to yourself in order to get to this particular idea. And it may be something that I said like earlier that's 5 years down the line. You
Right.
don't, depending on what it is you want. So
Right.
when you realize that, like, okay, I might not be able to get that. What's my next plan of action? Too many
Right.
people have one or two ideas and they're done.
Yep.
No, you should have do you know how many millions of bad ideas I have over there? I have a million good ideas too that haven't been used too, but I am still using some of my great ideas, so it,
Yeah.
it, it does help me because I am able to release. But I know exactly what I need to make it happen.
Right.
I know exactly, like even with me, I've been working and doing stuff at the club. I haven't been doing things at other clubs for a while. So when I came back out, I was like, all right, Morg handles Morg calls in the deals with the club. Cam has the popularity now to where he can bring in that particular party crowd, and then me, I have the name recognition, and when you get there, I'm gonna make sure that you come back.
Yep.
So now that I have the right team around me, okay, we can go start throwing parties at different places. Right now, we're at the ability where we can go just rent out a place, get it catered, and I know that we'll be able to bring people in. But
Yep.
before, I can't. That's without having the people in place. That doesn't make sense.
And you got to plan that stuff out. So you
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 got
you
to.
see where you're at, see the big goal, and then start breaking that down into actionable steps.
And if it can't be done, then move on from it. There's so many more other things that can be done. Don't just
Mm.
do it because you want to do it and then fail at it. I've been wanting to do a concert my whole entire life. Okay, if the money doesn't make sense, why spend all your money and now you did it and then realize that, oh snap, I lost 5,000. Know that you can do that, and then it doesn't matter if you win or lost because you've done the concert. Yes, I done the concert. I don't care about winning or losing. I saved up or did enough to where I won because I did it.
Yep. Which is
So
sometimes half as important. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like, maybe that's not the goal. It just like goes back to what you're saying. It's like, well, if this is the goal, what are the deciding factors? And if certain things need to happen, what are your steps to make that happen? I love that. You said don't just stop at your bad idea, because you're gonna have a bunch of them. Like,
Yeah.
good
Or
ideas, bad
and then
ideas.
you also have to be able to decipher when people say that your idea is bad, but you still believe in it. I remember my mama told me, I never forget this, and I love my mama, and I know that she's the most proud of me ever. But I was working at Centennial Wireless before I was about to make the leap and say, I'm just about to quit and just go full time with this hosting thing. This is even, and the radio came. My mom was like, nah, don't quit that job. Nah, that paying that insurance, that's getting insurance. Like, don't quit it. Like, she was trying to tell me to stay. But I knew that I knew that I had the ability. I knew that if I had the opportunity, what I could do, and I had to make that choice and that jump. And it was against what everybody said, but you have to know what's best for you.
Yeah, that's wild, bro. Oh my goodness. Y'all are getting a lot today, man. Y'all are getting a lot. I hope y'all are truly enjoying it. If you are, go ahead and write Thank you, Kess, in the chat. Go ahead and write. This is amazing. Share it with your friends. Whatever you need to do.
Appreciate it.
But we appreciate you for being here, and we so appreciate your life experience and the way that you're sharing with us, man. How can people get a hold of you, get in contact with you, engage with the content and the things and the business moves that you're making, and support you from the Empower You podcast audience?
Another bad thing about me is that I don't have all my handles together like I should. Don't get it twisted. You can always look up Big Kess, BIGKESS, Big Kess DaVoice, BIGKESS DAVOICE. You'll be able to find me pretty much on all platforms under that name, Kess DaVoice. Facebook tricked me into using my real name, which is Keristen Baker. But if you type in Big Kess or Kess DaVoice, you'll be able to find my content on there. Me and my wife have a podcast that I think we're going to bring back this year called Caking with the Bakers.
Oh, yes.
Cakin, CAKIN. It's funny, we did a recap of our past episodes, and it kind of made us realize that, you know what, we probably should start getting back into that. If not, both of us, it'll be at least me, I'll be taking over. We're like 1,500 subscribers, and yeah, we just kind of fell off, you know what I'm saying? YouTube is not as easy as people think. I think we made like a total about $17 too, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so Caking with the Bakers, Kess DaVoice, Big Kess DaVoice. You can find me pretty much everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all that's under Kess DaVoice. But before I get out of here, I want to say this, and this is to all your listeners. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have been listening to Kid for how many episodes you're on? 76 or 78 or 80?
80. Yeah, it's like 85, bro.
But let me tell you guys, this is literally one of the most talented guys that I have met in a very long time. It's truly an honor to be your friend. There's so much. You have a plethora of knowledge, man. Acting is something that I love to do. Being able to work under you, and just seeing your work ethic. Not only was he the star, he's the light guy. He's the second-hand producer. Like, you did so much with that show, and I'm like, I don't know, just an honor to know you, seeing what you do with this podcast and how you do it and the way that you do it, the quality in which it is, and then saying, you know what, I'm going to still try to help other people get their podcast off the ground. It's like, they don't make too many kid boys out there. And anyone that, this is not a cap, but anyone that knows you knows that. Anyone that knows you knows that Kid will go above and beyond, way above and beyond to help you out. Even if you don't deserve it, he gonna be there through and through, man. So I'm just saying, I'm honored to have you as a friend. Thank you so much for having me as a guest on your show. Continue to do what you're doing. That's empowering the people. And you have empowered me. And I will continue to be a fan and a faithful listener. So thank you so much, man, for everything.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Y'all, this is my big bro, Big Kess, y'all. Thank you so much for being here, man.
I try to think of a couple of our lines from the play, but I was messing those lines up so much. I was like, eyeing you from the start. But you would know it, and then I wouldn't know what to say back.
Oh my God, that was a great experience. Oh my goodness. Man. All right, listen, y'all. We're going to wrap this up because me and Kess will be out here talking forever. Y'all, enjoy your new year. Keep making big plans. But just like Kess told us, your plan is nothing. It's just an idea if you don't break it down into steps that you can actually implement in real time to make this a reality. Don't just get stuck being a daydreamer. Okay? So, thank y'all. We love y'all. I'll talk to y'all in another episode. Peace.
Deuces.
Empower You podcast is devoted to bringing real-world wisdom and encouragement to our listeners. We discuss a multitude of life principles and the process from an economic, cultural, and societal perspective. We believe that through tough conversations and shared wisdom, we can pave the path and leave a ladder for the future. Subscribe to our channel and let us empower you.